course, anytime, my friend. How is everybody today?
Monday.
Great.
I know, I love it. I love it. I had like 30 people register for being on today. So let's see who
Still,
shows up, Miss Allison.
they'll slowly trickle on.
I know, I know.
Well, real estate time. We're still 5 minutes early. Not Allison time,
Right.
but most real estate agent time. We're 5 minutes early.
That
Here
is so true. That is so true.
Not this crazy woman over here. Oh yeah, we got people popping on. Awesome. Very good. All right, Tina, we were just going through saying, how's the market? What's everyone's kind of general response to that question?
What's their general response? I don't know. I just got off a Zillow call with our Zillow rep, and I mean, right now we're everything's rolling just like it used to. We've got a couple bumps as far as
When you're working with box.
uh-oh.
I got her.
Here she is.
We got
Yeah, I think that, it's business as usual. Like we're actually for the first time ever ahead of our goals, which we've always been behind. The last 3 years, we've been behind. Like literally we failed at our target, but we failed forward. So this is the first year where we're like, wow, we're actually beating last year's numbers. And we all felt like with the news and everything shaken up that we would be behind and inventory low, but it's been good. We have prepped our buyer agents to fill that gap, for the longest time for their commission. So that's been really successful. Now it's just navigating, the next 3 months. But I don't know, business as usual. It's a hot market.
very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive in. I think the point of this is also to make sure that we are collaborating and interactive and asking questions. And so we'd love for you to kind of kick it off and then just let the natural flow of this happen and rock and roll.
What's our topic? What's the main topic you guys want to talk about?
So yeah, does anyone want to go around? Like, what would anyone want to achieve today? I'm going to turn this around because I've got Ryan and Eli in the office. Does anybody kind of want to throw like, what is one thing that you guys would love to learn today or take away? We got Blake, Courtney, Sonia, we got tons of people on here. So what is one thing that she could kind of put on her list to go over during this time?
Because I know we talked about community building.
Yeah, community build. I mean, I think like items to focus on, for recruitment, which also I think will just kind of play into like how to plug into EXP and what's kind of going on. Cause sometimes I think we get so focused on our individual tracks as well. Hopefully that made sense.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I know you said, Allison, like team building, and I did a little presentation in Tennessee about what I would do if I were rebuilding my team today. So I don't know how many team leaders we have on here. Maybe stick it in the chat box. If you have one or more agents, you're a team leader. Congratulations. You're running a team.
I think a lot of us would love to hear about that topic because I think a lot of people,
We've even got some teams that are growing that are looking at having kind of scaling many teams inside of their team. We've got some people that are kind of at that level where they say, do I need a team? Should I scale back? Should I scale up? So I think that would be a good topic to dive into as well, because that helps everyone's business, right? Because on every scale, we're all growing a business. So I think that would be really smart.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. And I'll pop up some slides too. And again, this is kind of an open mastermind format. So everybody jump in where you see fit. I always think of myself as a forever student. So when people ask me to speak, I'm like, why do they want me to speak? Like, I want to go listen to people speak. And I think the reality is that I'm such a forever learner that I guess I always feel like I'm the student in the back of the class. And when people ask you to speak, I'm like, I don't know what I can share with them. But the biggest thing I would say is 24 years, 14 years as a solo agent doing everything pretty much myself. Actually, the first 10 years. And then in the second 4-year period, I hired an assistant, which was miraculous. But still mostly as a solo agent. And I think the biggest weakness of our profession is that people come into this profession and you stay solo forever because nobody teaches you how to scale. You just do all the tasks and the chores, and you think if it's to be, it's up to me, and I'm running this coffee shop myself, and that's it. And then some, at one point the wheels fall off. Now it's different for everybody. Some agents it's 30 deals, some agents it's 50. For me, it was 130 transactions. I was doing 15 units a month. I could easily do 15 units a month only because I stayed in my efficiency, which was being on the phones for 3 hours a day, negotiating contracts, going on listing appointments, and then coming home and pressing repeat. And everything else was done for me. So highly leveraged business from that point. So you can build a huge listing business, but you have to do the task that nobody wants to do, which is the consistency of staying on the phones for 3 hours a day. It is the most grueling, boring, awful task ever. Can you guys give me an amen on that? Being on the phone for 3 hours a day. It's like, especially somebody like me who has ADD, but I had to really prep for that session. And it was like music was playing. I had my little trinket toys that I would like play with and fiddle with just to keep my boredom going. Sometimes I'd have a podcast on, I'd pause it if somebody answered. So it's just, how do I stay most efficient in the thing that's going to move the needle? And for me, that was being on the phones. Today, as a team leader, it's recruiting. You know, what is going to move the needle? It's recruiting, it's bringing talent onto the team. It's teaching myself how to be this leader, which I even hate that word. I don't know, it makes me icky, but it's like, my God, that's what we're doing. We're leading, right? So I have to learn about that. So going back again, I think the profession, unfortunately, weakens our mindset because it keeps us very solo focused. Once I started to build the team, it was literally like, hey, I need help. And literally, thank God, one of the first agents that knocked on my door was Laura Payne, who's still with me today, 10 years later. And, you know, we have a great friendship, and she just took all the buyers. And so that was what a team meant to me. It was like, okay, we're running a team. You run this way, I run that way. Well, then all of a sudden we were selling more homes. We got more attention and more people knocked on our door. I think I could count on my hand since 2014, which is what, a decade, maybe 5 times where I actually reached out to an agent to say, hey, you'd be a great fit for our team. We just naturally, based on the success, based on the track record, based on the other agents in the community that worked with us, we just built that, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Oh my God, I can't even think of the word I'm thinking of. But basically, the community knew that we were top performers. We were easy to work with. We were nice. We were efficient. We were effective. So I guess our track record spoke for itself. So I think a lot of times when I ask people, why do you want to build a team? And they're like, well, I just really love to be in operations and I don't want to do this work. And it's like, well, you haven't really ever done the work. And I think that a lot of people want to build a team and they're doing it backwards because they've never really been in the trenches to be able to teach that art of sales to their team. And so when you build a team, and I'm going to share my screen, there's a few things going back that I would totally put in place because I failed people, not knowing what I was doing. So let me just present this real quick and then go back. Oops. Come on, let me go back real quick. Here you are. Okay, let's put this on here. Okay. So can you see this, Anna?
Yes, you're good.
You can? Okay, so if I hit present, does it cover the screen?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, look at
You're there.
me, I'm so techie. Okay, so if I built a team from scratch today, there's just a few things that I think as a new team leader, because I coach a few team leaders and we go through this and we say, okay, what would be the first strategy if I had a few strategies? Because building a team is opening a brokerage, really. And when you make that decision, you're like, I want to run a brokerage. That's what you're really saying. A team, a lot of times agents will say, well, I need leverage and support. Okay, but do you want to own a brokerage? No. Well, then you do not need to run a team. Maybe one of the strategies is I'm going to be a community builder instead. I'm going to be a networker. I'm going to build a non-physical team that has zero overhead and expense, because what I'm saying is I need leverage. So maybe I need some extra income to maybe put more tools and people in place on my current in my current solo business that will do more of the things that I don't want to do, so I can have leverage and scale. Because like I said, unless you're selling 130 homes a year, you can absolutely have a beautiful $700 to $1 million a year business as a solo agent. You just need staff around you to do everything else that you don't want to do. And you're negotiating contracts, being on the phones, and converting at a high level. And if I was solo, I would also hire an ISA. So when I was done from that 3-hour post, I would immediately have the ISA take another 3-4 hours of call time. So when I got back to the office the next day, they were like, hey, I booked you 2 or 3 appointments. Sweet. So I would have advanced my abilities faster had I been a solo agent with the knowledge that I have today. So going back to building a physical team, I think the first strategy is, again, I was a good salesperson, and I took the teachings of Mike Ferry and Tom Ferry and all the fairy godmother and godfathers out there, and basically I disseminated that knowledge and I put it into serving the customer. And I had such a passion about it. And you can motivate people, but you can't give them a passion. And I always tell our agents, if you don't have a passion for this business, like it doesn't keep you up at night and you're not thinking about how you can solve their problem, find them their house, you are definitely in the wrong business. I had such a passion for this business, and it's still here today to where I don't have to work, I get to. I don't have to run this team. I mean, I've probably complained about it to Anna and Allison, like, oh my God, this is my last week. I'm selling the team. But it's not true. It's like, I'm just hitting a roadblock of skill. And my roadblock of skill was to be a good leader. And so I started studying Pat Lencioni leadership books, and particularly the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And then Gino Wickman's Traction, which I think, Anna, you run EOS now. And traction is a beautiful thing because it even if you're a solo agent and you're moving into building a team, it helps you set up the boxes and how the business is going to run. The part of the first strategy would also be to conduct the Working Genius assessment. I wish I would have had this a decade ago, because I would have been able to place employees and team members to ensure alignment in the roles. I would have known what brings them joy and what brings them frustration. I know you guys have heard Anna talk about it a lot. We literally discovered it at the same time and been geeking out over it so much, to the point where I went and got my license to be a facilitator, because it's something that truly, for me, if I can put a person in a seat and they're so excited about that seat, they're not there for a paycheck. And I found that people have to have the same vision as you when they're working in a cohesive team. They have to know that vision is truly what they believe in. Because if they don't, they're just there to pick up a paycheck. I get it. People have to make money, but God, you got to find employees that are like, I love my job and I love what I do every day. So those would be sort of the first strategy. And when you think about the 5 dysfunctions, one thing that I ran into was the absence of trust, which is the first of the 5 dysfunctions. We probably have 8 dysfunctions. I should text Pat and tell him I found a few more, but the first dysfunction was trust. That's the glue that holds the team together. And so when I think of it, times where the trust was lacking was, do you trust me to do this job? If you're a leader and you're the first one to take everything away or put your fingers in everything and you're over everybody's shoulder, they're going to feel that this leader doesn't trust me. This team owner doesn't trust me. And they're always going to be afraid to speak up. They're always going to be afraid to tell the truth and be honest. And so what started to happen on my team was this artificial harmony. Everyone was just walking around like everything was really harmonious. But then in the background, you started to hear people not gossiping, but just really talking about certain things they weren't happy with. And I had to work really, really hard to make sure that I had no yes people around me. And I could literally trust them to come up to me and go, I think we're making the wrong decision. Or have you thought about that a little more? Or, maybe we should stop and slow down, or whatever it is. To have a family that you're going to spend 100,000 hours of your life with, because that's what we spend in our lifetime working, 100,000 hours. Think about that. So if you're spending 100,000 hours and you're spending it with more time with people at your office than you are with your own family, you're going to have dysfunction. Just normal. But when I have a fight with my brother or my mother or my father, I still know that they're my family and we're going to fix that. And we're not going to give up on each other. And I think as strangers, sometimes we bring people into the workplace and we give up on each other because you're like, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. You're dead to me, because there's no like true relationship. So I think you have to have that trust where as a leader, you are open to feedback and you're always constantly breaking through those levels of your own growth. Because if you're not growing as a leader, you're literally dying, and your team is probably falling apart over and over again. I've got a lot of team leaders that I've talked to that they just can't keep a team together. And I always say, don't blame everybody else. Don't look out the window for the problem. Look in the mirror. It's usually you. Fear of conflict, you know, I think I touched on that. You've got to have healthy conflict. In fact, I push for conflict when we're having meetings. Come on, come on. What do you think about that? Let's pull it out. My job is to pull it out so they can see that it's okay to have conflict, healthy conflict. If your intention is good, and we all know that we're rowing towards the same direction. For us, it's agent success obsessed. We want to be obsessed with the agent success on our team. Then we know that we're all caring about the bottom line. And so we can have some conflict. Lack of commitment. People don't fully support the team goals. So when everyone's rowing in a different direction, because when you're on a team of agents, everyone's looking at their own solo production. What's in it for me? A lot of times they're just worried about what's in it for me, but I have to get my team to a level of commitment where they believe that if I care about Susie's family eating as much as I care about my own, then I've got the right culture. Then I've got the right commitment level. If I've got people caring about their friends on the team and their peers, because that's the football team that I want. You can't be on the field hogging the ball and never showing your peers how to just turn it just like this to get it to go straighter. Because if we all help each other get better as advisors, we're going to be better as agents. So avoidance of accountability, that's another one. Nobody knows who's supposed to do what. Mistakes go unchecked. I used to do this a lot. I used to be more of a hands-off leader, like, hey, you got this. It's good. And I would let people just do it because my theory was, well, you're an adult, you've got this. But that wasn't the right answer, because everybody's built differently. Working Genius is one test. What brings you joy and excitement in life? You can't get that test wrong. It literally, you can mark your widget and decide what order you want them in. But everyone has different abilities. From are they a very positive, forward-thinking person? Are they relational? Do they want harmony in their environment? You know, if you've got someone that always wants harmony in their environment, when you look at their strengths finder, they're probably not going to be a good HR director, because what does an HR director do? They're constantly working on people problems. So for me, not holding my team accountable to the things that they're doing and going in and double checking and seeing that this is the process I want, that's a problem. And I was guilty of that. And then inattention to the results. If everyone only cares about their success and what's good for the team, you are never going to have a cohesive team. And right now, it's leaders are repeaters is what I've heard. I think it was John Maxwell said, leaders are repeaters. You have to almost repeat everything that you want over and over again to the point that you're bored. And when I was working with Mike Ferry, I would go back for 12 years. I went back to the same 2 conferences every single year. And my husband would come with me, he goes, he's saying the same thing, like literally over and over again. Why are you paying all this money to hear the same message? I said, because I'm a different person when I'm at those conferences and the message is received differently. But now I can recite literally after 12 years, everything that he's done, which brings me to the next thing that I would put on for building a team. So I'm not going to go through the Working Genius because I feel like we've all probably gone through it. And I don't think we have time today, but basically you can go and take this test and see what your 2 geniuses are, where you should spend 80% of your time, and where your frustrations lie. So you can avoid those things, knowing you have to do them at times, but avoid them if you're in a specific role or you have someone in a specific role. When I talked about Mike, I'm a firm believer in a unified sales curriculum. So sometimes I work with team leaders that they'll just call me out of the blue and say, hey, can I pick your brain? I'm like, sure. And they're like, I don't know how to take everything I've learned in 25 years and put it on paper and teach these people. And if you think about it, a lot of times we idolize agents and we're like, oh my God, that agent in my market is so amazing. And when you really break down what they've done, they've just built relationships for 25 years. And if you're going into their market, like I remember when I came here to Raleigh, I was like, Marty Hampton, she's amazing. Sharon Evans, oh my God, these ladies are selling over 100 homes a year at the time. This was 15 years ago. When I started to get to know them, it was like, oh, it was just time compounded that got them there. It wasn't like they followed this exact strategy. Like Sharon will tell you today, I'm really good with people. How do I teach that really good with people lesson? She just compounded and she learned and she was a student, but I need a unified sales curriculum if I'm going to duplicate. So what is your unified sales curriculum? How are you breaking down what you're doing into a duplicatable Chick-fil-A model that if you opened a team in another town, you could literally hand them this Bible and say, this is what we do here. And we've worked really, really hard because I'm a researcher. So I have a lot of different strategies and theories to bring it down to one sales curriculum. So there are, within our group with Lever and Access, there is a program, which Anna, I'm happy to give to them, where you've got modules. So it's a module-based system. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think it's like $14 a month for a solo agent, a couple hundred a month for a team leader. I think you need something like that. So when I find really cool resources, I bring them to our people and say, here, let's use this together. So I want to stop it right here just for a couple questions so I don't just ramble on. Let's just open up for a couple questions in that, what we talked about. Did you guys like ever feel like you were your team leaders? Is there dysfunction there? Is there posturing? Is there politicking? Like what are you guys seeing on your teams when you're trying to build them? Don't be shy.
I think one of the things that we were kind of struggling with, and I had a really great conversation with Anna about this, that she reverted back to what is our team culture, with team members that, just were telling us, here's my goals, here's what I want to do, and we're showing them the pathway to get there, and they're not doing it. And it was a huge frustration for me because I'm like, if you just do what I say, it'll work. And it kind of went back, and I had the conversation with Anna and went back to what is the culture of the team, and it does that person still fit within your core values, and is because if they don't fit in the core values, then that's a bigger problem. But if they're simply just not doing things that you're asking them to do, like coming to team meetings or participating or doing things like that, that you have to shift your mindset on it. And I would love to kind of hear your thoughts on that and how you address that within the team.
Well, I think it's that exact going back to what are they called to do? Like, what am I called to do? And I know my last name's Caul, so we call it, I found my calling, right? My calling was calling numbers, getting in front of people, convincing them to, work with us. And our team, we want to send that message that this is what we're about, that we're proactive. What is their calling? Do they believe in the core mission of your team, or do they think, well, this team leader is just trying to make us sell homes so they can make more money? There are a lot of team leaders. I sat with somebody literally yesterday, and he said that his team leader would come into whatever the pit that they were all calling, and he'd be like, come on, make me some money today. That is like
Gross.
like disgusting. Like that is so gross. And he would literally, like, that was his message, and he lost all of his team. He's down to one team member today. So it's like, what is your calling? What is the point of running this team? Because if it's just to make money and make it a job, you are not going to win with people. You're just not. So the other thing is the chemistry, like how well do we work together? So it's your calling, your chemistry, and your challenge. What kind of challenges are we going to face as a team? How are we going to win together? And showing people that, guys, we're on a, I always describe it as an airplane with duct tape on the wings. I'm going to keep this plane in the air, but we're going to sometimes have issues. And how do we solve challenges together as a team? And sometimes you just got to realize that you don't have an eagle on your team. You got a turkey, and you got to get rid of the turkey. And if you've got an agent that is just whining, complaining, they're always looking out the window instead of looking in the mirror, that is the worst thing for culture. And I've had to clean house on some of those people. I also have to have the trust built that these people can come to us and say, hey, so-and-so is such a drag. You're not hearing this on the background, but they're like A, B, and C. The biggest lesson for me was I always wanted to be liked And that was a huge issue. I always wanted to be liked and be in relationship, versus now my next level is, I don't care if I'm liked. I'm going to do what's best for the business and do what's best for all of the people together versus like one person. And there's going to be people that don't like me on our team. And I'm okay with that actually now, because I'm so invested in the process and how we get agents from A to B to C, so they're successful. They don't have to like me, but they do have to respect the mission and understand where we're going, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I was going to touch on Blake's question in the chat, Tina, and I talked about this with someone else this week too. Like, you're kind of going into that, you have what you did that worked for you as an individual agent, but now you're trying to layer in a team and you're trying to grow an organization and a business. And Blake and I've talked about this numerous times, like, and Blake, you can speak up. I don't mean to speak for you. I just want to be sure we highlight this question, like making sure that he's hitting his production tasks, like to have that fulfillment at the end of the day of his contacts, like being on the phones and all that stuff, but also leaving the space to create something. And how do you start that shift? And Blake, you can take over from here if I've misread your question off, but it's in the chat box as well.
No, so kind of what I've been struggling with, and I chatted with Anna about it and others. We're growing a team, and I think, and I really was inspired by the first time I heard Tina talk about, when she hired her car salesman as ISA and whatever. So I think I had a couple, premature team member hires, and I finally have 2 full-timers within the last couple months that I'm excited about because they actually hit the phones with me. So really, I guess for me, I'm so stuck on like tally marks. I think from my maps coach, like I can't really like sleep good at night if I don't have my 20 to 25 contacts or plus a day. So now as a team leader, I won't say I wasted a lot of time, but I spent a lot of time with the part-timers that I'm over here like teaching them traction and all this. And then you realize when you're looking at their CTE that they're not doing anything during the day. So I'm over that. So I'm kind of restarting a team with, I say 2 more full-timers, but one just had a baby. So it's really just me and one other who prospects all day long. And I have an ISA. So and I let him use the triple dialer. So now I'm so stuck on like, I can't get my mindset of quantity over, I can't shift the mindset of quality over quantity. So like I got the ISA doing quantity, and I think we're focusing more on quality now, but it's hard for me to lay my head down in peace at night without that 25 contacts, like I know this is very productive today. I met with hopefully a future EXP agent on Friday. I'm doing things to move the needle. Does any of that make sense, or I just rambled?
Totally. No, it all makes sense. So I think, when I think back to when it was just me and a couple agents and we got up to 7 agents, when I joined EXP, it was myself and 6 other agents. And actually 7 other agents, all 7 of those agents are still with us today. And that was 5 years ago. And, again, Ashley's been with us 8 years, Laura 10. What I did, Blake, is I literally sat around a table, like our conference room table, and we did the calls together. And if you're somebody that, you point a finger and you're like, make your calls, do your calls, but you've never done it, they're not going to believe you. And you have to get in the trenches with doing the task that you've told them to do. If I'm a sharpshooter in the Army and I'm training people to be sharpshooters, I better have sharpshooted before, if I'm going to train this skill. And so I think what you're doing is right. It's like, you've got to find your core group, the people that are going to be in the weeds, and you got to prospect more for agents. You just have to find those ones, because I had to weed through a lot of them to get to our core 7 agents that were willing to do it. And like Minda's one of them today. She's now writing a course for EXP, and she will tell you, like, I thought I like entered the loony bin. Like, this is what real estate is. Like, I have to sit around a table and make these awful, god awful calls every day. Like, she hated her life. However, now she's a top producer selling 50 plus homes a year, more opportunities. So I think I would definitely start there. And then I would say, really focus on your top 20%. Once you have, like, Anna has a big team now, her attention and time should go into her top 20%, because those top 20% are probably driving the revenue of the entire company. And the other 80% get your attention once they figure out how to become top 20%. So it's like what you focus on expands. Right now for you, you know, if you're trying to make 3, 4, 500,000, your job is to keep revenue high in the company. That is your job. And really as a younger team leader, let's say, that money that you're making, you're funneling it back into people on the team so you can grow it. Right now you have 2 businesses, the Blake business, which is your profitability, and the team business. So I have to take some of that income, and what I would have done, actually I did do this, is I hired a team leader and I said, hey, your job is to take the $70,000 I'm going to pay you and pour it into recruiting every single day, building this team and building the curriculum around the team, doing the team meetings. Like I literally had two incomes or 2 jobs from 17 when I first hired Pam. And then she really built the team. So until I got up to 20 agents, I could not replace my income because I knew every one agent that sold 16 homes on our team net the company $33,000. If I had 10 agents, that's $330,000. 20 agents is $660,000. I was making $700,000 clear net profit to me. So I needed to replace that income before I stepped out of that post. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So think of it as running 2 businesses. And right now, if you're trying to be the team leader of this business and the team leader of your own business, that's where the struggle comes in, because you're like, I can't pour into these people and grow them when I have to hit my 25 tasks for the day, or my coach is going to be mad at me. So you're a solo agent running a Dairy Queen and you're running that Dairy Queen. And I bet you if I said, hey, do you have enough time to open up a coffee shop? You'd be like, hell no. Well, why do you have enough time to open up a team and a brokerage? You don't. I mean, really, if you think about it, you don't, because you have to stay in the weeds and be an amazing solo producer. Take the $70,000, invest it in another human that can drive the profit of that team and grow this other leg of the company while you're growing your own individual business.
Right.
Is how I would have done it looking back. Faster.
No, I think that makes sense. I just got to continue to accept that mindset, you know, because we're and just I think we're there. We just got to be consistent and it'll come, you know. It's not an overnight task. So
Or if you say, I don't want to grow brokerage, that sounds like hell, which looking back, it is. So I mean, it is. If I really had the foresight and really understood what EXP could deliver me, right? I mean, I've got a team of 1,500 agents. They don't bother me. They don't call. I mean, they call a little bit here and there. I get to do stuff like this all day. Like, this is the most amazing team ever. And I have low overhead. How did I build this team? Every Friday, Freedom Fridays. Every Friday was dedicated to building relationships in my community, taking people to coffee, showing people what we offer at this company, which is an amazing company, and everyone should be at EXP. In fact, it's so amazing and so disruptive that now we have a bunch of copycats. Nobody will ever open another brokerage again that doesn't have a revenue share model and a stock model. They just won't. It's silly. Like, why would you do that? On a national level, of course, you can open up boutique brokerages, but that's what I mean. It's like you could still build your organization and your network, but you have to have promoter mindset. You have to be a promoter of what you're doing, your team and your network. How do I promote? And if nobody knows what you're doing and they don't see the passion behind it, no one's coming. So I think that's sometimes what we lack to do, is promote our own business. You should be able to go to Caul Group and my pages and see what I'm like to work with, an authentic me, all the weirdness that comes with me, and what it's like to work on my team. And then you're going to see the attraction piece come, where people will be like, I want to work for Blake Gruhl. He's cool. But if you're nowhere to be found, I don't know what you're like.
right.
I mean, you sell a lot of homes, but who is Blake? What is he about? And what does he believe in? And do I align with that? I have to get to that intimacy and have a parasocial relationship with you online first, and then I might want to join your team. Make sense?
Yeah, no, that was good.
Okay.
I agree.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Anna. Go ahead.
I got a question, Tina. So can you talk a little bit about, I feel like this, like the showing model, right? Like we hear about it a lot more now than I feel like I did coming up as a solo agent. I sure wish I'd have had someone tell me about it
Me
before.
too.
Can you talk about twofold, like individual agents that are on the call, like what your thoughts are on the showing partnership, like what that can turn into. And then could you also, as a second part to this, could you touch on how it can be used on a team level? So we have agents on our teams that are looking for additional leverage, right? But they still want to stay within that team model, and what your thoughts are on being able to implement that even on team splits, and how it can, that leverage can still promote, healthy bottom line and healthy business.
So in all fairness, we've had the partner model only work with 2 agents, and both of those agents are no longer using a partner. So we're not a big partner model, but knowing that this has become a big thing, I think that it makes perfect sense, because the majority of agents, got to think about this, 80% of agents in the US make about $25,000 a year. So when people are like, oh, all these agents are going to run away, with this whole NAR settlement, run away. They're not even playing today. Like they're selling 2 homes. They're out of the business. If they don't think that's out of the business, then that's ridiculous. So the majority of agents are not producing. So when you can bring a partner agent on and say, hey, I sell and make $350,000 of revenue a year on buyer side transactions, I need you to be the field person. I need you to be in the field opening doors and holding the hands of the buyers. And then I will do all the negotiations and make sure that everybody's taken care of from the negotiation standpoint. And you give that person 15% of the income, and then maybe a small transaction fee. I mean, there's a lot of ways to cut it. If that person makes $50,000 to $60,000 their first year in real estate working for you, that's an amazing income. And they should come in as a partner agent. They should put up signs and lockboxes. In fact, I thought about, as you hire them, like you pay them $2,000 a month, that's $24,000 a year. And then you pay them a 15% override on all the deals. That means they're an employee. That means I can say, hey, Sarah, I want you here 8:30 to 5 every single day. I want you putting up signs and lockboxes for our agents. I want you filling folders out, or whatever other office work there is. So that agent is entrenched in understanding the operational side of the business, and I can treat them like an employee, because here's what fails agents. They don't have employee mindset. They come in for freedom and they go, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do all day. I'll stop at Target. I'll pick up my laundry, my dry cleaning. I might make a call. It literally it destroys real estate agents that they come in for freedom, and they have so much that they are not accountable enough to themselves to treat it like a job, and they fail. It's just the number one issue that I see. So if I were to do it again, Anna, I would pay them so they can be an employee of Caul Group, and I would give them tasks. I would have them help the entire team learn the ropes, and then after year 1, decide, are you ready to graduate? And then that agent is going to be so well trained, because their job is to hit a quota. Get on the phones for 2 hours a day, meet your quota. You go into corporate America, you have to meet quotas. You have to meet quotas. I sold Kirby vacuums. That was the most awful job ever. I had to meet quotas. I had to sit on the phone and talk to people about vacuums. So in real estate, you don't have to meet quotas. You're an independent contractor. And then you bring agents on your team, and they have independent contractor mentality, and they fail. And then we fail because we don't want to push them, because they might leave. And then I have to go prospect more to get more agents. So it's this vicious cycle of nobody wanting to do anything. So things don't fall apart, and then they fall apart anyway. So I don't know if I answered that question, but that's my thought on partner agent.
I think you did. I think when I look at it, and I look at people that start doing teams, and a lot of the mistakes that I made in the beginning as well, is that we bring on agents. The first thing people do is they say, I need to get a listing agent or a buyer's agent, right? Because they just want somebody to help go make money, where the first hire really needs to be leveraged to yourself. Like the first hire really needs to be your transaction coordinator, or your coordinator of some sort, so that you can leverage your time. And what you just said, I think, is a really good option, because it's a little bit of a hybrid. It'll help stop that accordion, right? Of like expansion, contraction, because you're really helping train this person. They've got a sure, number coming in to help drive them and give them income, but they're also making a lot of the money based upon the smaller percentage you're paying them as essentially like the showing agent. But I feel like if you followed that model, it would scale better, because the person's actually going to come in, and by the first year, they're going to be well trained. and their second year in real estate, you would feel better giving them the leads and saying, hey, go prospect, because they would know what they're doing and they've helped leverage and grow you faster than just saying, hey, I've got a buyer's agent, like go sell some houses. So I feel like that model might make a lot of sense.
Totally. I wish I would have done it. I would have had a lot more profitability at that point. You know, think about this. Laura came into my business and I'm so happy about the money that she made, but she came into my business. I was already earning $350,000 as a buyer side transactor. And I had my listing business. I literally brought her in and said, hey, you get 50% of my business. Think about that. I gifted a new person half of my business the minute they walked in the door. Are you kidding me? Like, that is the most ridiculous thing. Have you ever seen Shark Tank? There is nobody that stands up there with their new company and says, I'll give you guys half of it. That never happens. They're like 10%. You get 10%. You get 20%. They start so low to make sure that this is a partnership. And we don't. And then we, as I think team leaders, feel unworthy to say, no, you got to work for less than that because I built this thing. And so when I do think back of the mentality that I had then, it was scarcity mentality. How am I going to get people to work for 50%? They won't work like I work. I know that for a fact. All of you on this call they're not going to work like us. They don't have stress management skills. They don't have tenacity skills. They don't want it as bad. Some will. You're going to get people on this call right now that work for your teams that go, I want to build a team. Amazing. And I want to help you lead it. But they will not. And that's what I realized. We think everyone's like us. They're not. They're not. And so to give someone 50% of your business, it's insanity to me. It's insanity. But we do it anyway. That's the standard, right? But I think we can change that to make sure that they earn their stripes. You got to work yourself up from a brand new employee at a corporation to being a CEO. You don't just get it overnight. You don't just get the pay right away of a CEO. You got to work through it. Every corporation, there's a ladder. And I don't know. I just think we give it all away too fast. So we have to change that mentality. But I want to go back to real quick, the last couple of things and then open it back up. What time is it?
10:45. We got, yeah.
Okay. So let's just the last two things. So unified sales curriculum, unified language. I think that is, so sales curriculum and language. What are you constantly repeating in your brokerage or on your teams that people can feel is their language? You know, GWC is an EOS thing. Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? That is the easiest way to think about an employee in a seat. Do they get it? Yeah, they get it. Do they want it? No, I think they really don't want it. Do they have the capacity? Yes. You need 3 yeses to keep that employee in that seat. And that's like an easy way for us in leadership to communicate. CG Life, that's our core values. Courage, grit, leaders building leaders, intention, failing forward and evolving. That's like our mantra on our team. Your wildly important goals, your working genius language. Like we talk about working genius. In fact, tomorrow we're going to talk about it in our meeting so people can start saying like, hey, stop G-ing me right now. Stop galvanizing me right now. Like understanding where people's joy is huge. So I think that unified language is important. And then strategy 3, which I think I touched on before, is just building that presence, focusing on social media. Building a strong presence in the market allows people to know who you are, what you're all about, showcasing your company cultures and values. Right now, I think when I think of sorry, somebody was ringing in. When I think of my strategy for social media before, there was no strategy. I just posted because everyone said, you got to post every day. What is the point? Now with many chat automations, with all of you should be using, you know, that's the name of the game right now is building lists. Just like when you do something for your buyer and seller audience, you want to capture what? Their email, their information, so you can call them. Same thing with building a team or agent attraction. You need to build funnels where, hey, do you want my 5-step listing process? Say listing. Everybody says listing because they want your things. And then it goes to an automation where they fill out a form and you get their email. Your job is to then market to them. Anna and Allison do a great job with Empower. They're always keeping people up to date. They're building an audience. Coming onto this call today, you had to fill out a form. That is because our job is to promote value. And as long as they can keep promoting value, when people are stuck and they're like, man, my broker doesn't do shit. Like my broker never calls me. They never check in on me. And I have these three ladies over here, Ashley and Anna and Elsa, constantly pouring into me. When they get in trouble, they're going to go, those are the people that I need to call. Those are the people that are always coming from contribution. That is your job as a leader, is to give value. A lot of people, when they come into EXP, they'll say to me, well, but if I give away all my secrets, these people will just take them and take them. Yeah, but is there a secret to hard work, to tenacity, to showing up every day, to consistency? I don't think that's a secret. I think that is a gift that you have, Mr. Leader. So yes, you want to put out as much value as possible and create shareable content. If you go to your Instagram right now and you get a lot of likes, that's a vanity metric. That's people going, yeah, you're awesome, I like you. If they are commenting and sharing, that is what you want to go look at, because now you're saying share and like, if this content's valuable, I'll do more. That's where you want to get to. And then the other thing I would say is having a 5-star meeting. That is how we bring in a lot of our people. We want them to see our culture, because if they're like, oh, this is weird, I don't like these people, I don't like what they're talking about, I don't like the vibe here, please, Felicia, don't join the team. Like, we don't want you here. So it's bringing them into your environment first, seeing how they evolve in your environment. My litmus test is, do I want to take this person out to lunch? Do I want to hang out with this person after work? Because if I meet someone and they're a dud, I don't even want you on my team. I don't care how smart you are. Like, if there is no synergy and chemistry, I just don't want you there. So anyway, that is what I've got from our slide perspective. So let's open it back up for final questions and thoughts.
I know for us in the office, some of the content and questions we were talking about was, from now until, let's say, August, right? And not just as much like the NAR stuff that's coming, but I mean, from an agent on a team standpoint or a solo agent, like, what are the things that you would be focusing on? If there was like 3 things that you had to do every day in your business, and maybe that's recruiting, maybe that's one of them, maybe it's building the funnels to understand what our pillars are, but what are those 3 things that you would focus on for the next, 6 months?
I think as a brand new agent or a solo agent, for me, like, if I look back at everything, the whole 24 years, what I always fell in love with was the process, like the efficiency of the day to day. I don't care what I'm going to do this week or this month or this year, because that's over here. And I know to get there, I have to look at my daily activity and just do it. And it's so freaking boring. I tell people all the time, like, I think getting rich is so boring, and nobody wants to believe that it's just showing up every day and falling in love with opening up your CRM and calling Bob and Judy 919. Hey, Bob, like, that is it. That is it. And then you're doing it over and over again. Think of yourself in a boring ass cubicle. There are people in cubicles doing that exact work, making $80,000, but yet you can make 800 and you won't. My God, hello. Like, this is America. Like, we all work in corporate jobs and cubicles doing this work we're begging agents to do to make $60,000 to $80,000. And we're giving you the blueprint to be rich, and you won't do it. It drives me crazy. So that's number 1. Treat it like a freaking job. Like, you have a camera over your shoulder and someone's watching you, and you're going to send that video footage to your seller or buyer before they hire you. Would they be so impressed, and would they hire you? I bet 90% of the time people will be like, that's what the fuck you do? No, thank you. I'm going on to a real agent. If they put a camera on my shoulder and watched me all day, they would hire me, because I am busy all day. Ask Ashley. I'm always busy. I'm always leading from the front. I run 5 different companies today. It's because I love the process. I love work. Work works. So love work. If you're lazy, you're not going to make a lot of money. That's just the end of it. Rant over. So what's number 2? Fall in love with the process. What's number 3? Fall in love with the process. Have an employee mentality. That's all. That's all. Those are the 3 things.
Tina, I got a question. It's kind of similar to that. So say, I get on that phone words a lot, and they're big Mike Ferry people, and so I know you have a lot of experience with it. So say you get an agent from, I don't know, California or something, and they don't have a database. And in your market, we get maybe 1 or 2 expired and cancels a day. I mean, what is your piece of advice, to build the database? We now have the ISA to circle prospect. I think last time I spoke to you, kind of mentioned those are longer term leads, like
Mhm.
not as immediate. So and I think we're there, I always ask this question and we're consistent with it. It'll these agents are on the verge of breaking out, I think. I feel it. So not I think I know, but I don't know. What would you tell someone new to your market? I guess to build the database,
I mean,
to-
for me, seriously, like building a database takes time. If you're brand new, I think it's insanity to go off and do it on your own. I think it's insanity. Like I have new agents on our team that make $150,000 to $200,000 their first year. So if I'm going to open up a bakery, I better have worked at a bakery. I better understand what it's like to have that fast track. And I think like teams are brokerages that train you to fast track. It's a 4-year career. Then decide once you've been on a team, do I want to go and open a brokerage? Because that you're now going into leading yourself. You have to have a like the strategic brain to be able to pull all the levers and put them together. I can't tell you how many agents I ask, how many homes did you sell last year? Literally one number. And they're like, I have no clue. I'm like, you run a business and you don't know how many homes you closed last year. Like, that's insanity, right? So I don't think a lot of people have the propensity to be on their own. And I would say, don't be. Start on a team, get your business going, learn business, and then decide, do I want to go open up a business and do this? If you are solo and you're alone, going back to your question, you have to buy leads. Like there is no issue in buying leads. Invest in your business. If I open up a coffee shop, I have to buy beans. I'm not going to go grow them, right? I have to buy opportunities. I have to buy marketing. I have to bring people to my coffee shop. Buy leads. Like people are they have this like, oh, this trophy on their shoulder. I never bought a lead. Okay, that's silly. The ROI is there. As long as the ROI is there and you're not wasting the leads, because my thing is, if you're going to buy a bunch of leads, you better have the person or people that are going to be doing the proper lead follow-up to make sure that they convert those leads, because we know that PPC leads are 6 to 12 months, right, in doing the appropriate work. So if you don't have that employee mentality where you're getting in every day and you're doing your shift work to get these leads to convert in the next 6 months so you can get paid, don't buy leads, because they're gonna be bad leads, and everyone's gonna hate the leads because the leads suck. The leads never suck. We suck. We suck at the proper lead follow-up and conversion. So I would say buy leads. Expireds for sale by owners are your best conversion listing leads I've ever seen on the planet. They literally are raising their hand and saying, I failed and I don't want to pay commission. Those are the 2 objections you've got to get over. And then circle prospecting, which takes a lot longer, door knocking. But it's really, to me, just buying opportunities to get in front of people and learn skills to convert on the phones faster. That's really it.
Sweet. I think I might be one of the only ones who's not on a lead source. Well, besides like a PPC boomtown, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, and you can buy more of those, Blake, as long as they convert. You have to track those metrics. And what I was doing before was I was spending $30,000 a month on Zillow leads, and our team was not converting them as well. We were still profitable, but we could have been more efficient there. So again, you're dealing with agents that are more loosey-goosey in mentality. I think, a lot of agents are very helpful people, but they're the ones that leaned away from having jobs and they don't want to be in a box and they don't want to do boring work. We want to do fun, exciting work that deals with people all day. And that's the struggle that we have, is we've moved away from employee mentality, and then we don't have consistency in our business, and then we're stressed, and then we explode, and then we, just do this. This is our business. Oh. And that's real estate, and anyone will agree with that. I mean, Ashley's on here. Isn't that how you feel right now, Ashley? Yes, exactly. Did you feel that way when you worked as an admin for our team, when you had to be there 9 to 5 and you had a strict schedule on stuff you got done?
No.
How did you feel?
I'm
Balanced.
like, should I do that again?
You felt balanced. Why?
Yeah, a little bit more, because I knew where I had to be and it wasn't a roller coaster.
And now she has freedom. No one's holding her accountable because she's her own boss. And every week and a half, I have to you know, she has a meltdown. But that's being an entrepreneur. But I'm saying that is
Yeah.
being to be a great leader, you have to have a stress tolerance. You just do. Like Kevin always says, I don't know how you do this. I don't know either. It just is what I do, and I love it.
Well, I was just gonna say about the leads, I think it just creates momentum. So I think if you have people that are stuck and they can't get out of it, I think the leads create momentum for them to go chase the other pieces. At least that's what it can do for me. Like if you need more leads, you could jump on Zillow or jump on some of these other, lead flow systems. And then you get one or two, and then all of a sudden past clients start calling you, friends start calling you, things happen because you've created momentum.
Right.
Hey Tina, it's Sue. I got a quick question if you have a minute.
Tula Favi.
So I've been a solo agent for 5 years, and I agree 150%. If I had to do it all over again, I absolutely would have joined a team. Big, big mistake. First year, I literally sold 0 houses except my own. So now I'm at the point where I always have in the back of my mind, I mean, I feel like I have a good business going. It's, I'm in later years, so I'm not, starting fresh in a career. This is my second career. And I feel good about it, but I always have in the back of my mind, would it ever make sense to join a team or bring somebody on board? Just want to get your thoughts on that, because it seems like I'd be going maybe backwards. Like I should have started with a team to begin with, and then sometimes people branch off on their own, but I'm kind of just the opposite.
Well, you have to think about like what income do you truly keep? I don't know if you're open to sharing on the call, but what income am I netting? And can I replace that income on a team, even at a 50-50 split, with about 80% less headache, less management? Could I give all of that stress to, let's say, an Allison in your market and say, Allison, you've got processes and systems and marketing. And I mean, she's amazing. She's an amazing team leader and operator. If you took your business and said, let's partner, Allison, I make this much, but I'm so stressed. If I could make this much again, and you show me how, even at a 50-50 split, because here's the thing, Sue, on my team, I show my agents that I make, in 2022, I made $2,200 per transaction. That is what we kept, but I'm a volume-based business. So even though I kept $2,200, if I sell 1,000 homes, that's $2.2 million. When I was a solo agent, I made $700,000. I kept about $7,000 per transaction. So I kept more per transaction, but I was stressed and I had to do everything myself. And I actually made less money. As an agent, if you're on your own and you're selling 10 deals at $7,000, you made $70,000. On our team, if you sell 10 deals, you made $50,000 because you're averaging 5,000. But what if I could get you to 20 deals? What if I could get you to 30 deals? What if I could get you to 50 deals? And you're not having to do the stress. You're not having to do 4 big client events every year. You're not having to do all the marketing, all the postcards, all the crap that you do. And you can make more money because you're entering a volume-based business now, because you're plugging into a brokerage that, yes, has a higher split, but gives you more time freedom and gives you more money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the part that lacks on my side, because I'm a solo, is all that marketing, the postcards, like it doesn't happen.
Right.
And I do about low
think about your
20s.
business.
Yeah. I mean, I do like low 20s transactions a year on average the past 2-3 years. So,
and if you plugged in your systems, or if you plugged into more systems and processes, and let's just, I'm using Allison example, let her massage your people, your past clients, love on them, invite them to things, and you could take that stress off just from your database. You're going to see, you're probably going to get 20 or 30 more deals on top of
I
team
agree.
can give you. You know what I mean? And then you can go away on vacation where you're
Exactly.
like, oh, I'll just give it to them and they'll service it.
Right.
So I think it's a mental block, because
Right.
the industry has trained us. Brokers do not like broker teams, because I worked for Keller Williams. I was a threat to Keller Williams because I'm functioning as a teamridge. I'm literally their direct competition. I'm going to recruit agents and they're not going to make as much money on my team. Why? Because we cap. So if I have 50 people at Keller Williams, I am overtaxing their staff. They don't want big teams. So they want to keep everybody solo in most brokerages, selling their 10, 15 deals a year, capping, making their money, and then coasting. And then the next year you do it again. It's a kind of a sick process, but it's the
Right,
truth. And
right.
so they don't
No.
teach us how to be brokerages. Why would they
Yeah.
do that?
No, thanks. That makes perfect sense. Something to think about for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that question. All right, guys, top of the hour. What
Yeah.
do we have
Good.
left? It was,
I
we're
was gonna say,
wrapping
are we
up.
good? I'm gonna check the chat. Does anybody have any, oh, Sonia said she's listening. Good question. This is a great opportunity. We've got Tina for 5 more minutes. I would say if you guys have anything.
Because I have an 11 o'clock, so.
2 more minutes. Does anybody have anything? Okay, Tina.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for
awesome.
kicking our
Thank you,
butt. I
Tina.
appreciate it.
Love y'all.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.